Hey guys, so I'm going to do a quick overview of Studio 2, which has a lot of different steps. It's the only one that's quite this complicated, and the reason why it's complicated is because it asks you to work with research questions, keywords, editing some of that stuff, getting together kind of a plan, and also kind of figuring out a little bit more about how to search the internet with a little bit more efficiency, which is something we're kind of starting with in the first couple of weeks of class, and then using that research. So it's split into two parts. So part one actually has three separate little steps. So you'll notice there's like a part 1A, 1B, 1C, and each of those ask you to do an activity with a video and get together either research questions, keywords, like edit and group what you have, get together kind of a plan. And then part two is actually using what you've come up with to find some sources to get your research started. So what you'll see down here, it just says plain presentation. So this is the whole presentation for all of the steps all together. And then I'll make more sense in a minute as I kind of go through the activity in a little bit more detail. But if you just want to go through the whole activity in one sitting without my audio and all of that stuff, you'll notice it's all here. All the steps, part one, part two, everything is here without the audio. So I'm going to go ahead and take you to kind of a disclaimer, because there are a lot of different steps. I try to keep studio activities should take about 2 to 3 hours. Not all of them will. I try to keep it a little bit under that, but this is one that may push that a little bit. And because it's multifaceted, I do recommend that people don't try to do it all in one sitting. It's usually a better bet to either do part one by itself and then come back later and try to do part two. It's going to be a very frustrating activity to try to do all in one sitting. Okay. So I do have this little disclaimer for you to read before you get started. Okay, so Studio 2, Part 1A is working with research questions. So you started this in the library, and what I kind of ask, you'll notice it says I view the presentation and complete the prompted activities in a Google Doc. Some people do ask and have already asked if they can use their Lucidchart from the library to continue working with your research questions, since I am asking you to build off of that. That's fine with me. If you want to do some of this activity on your Lucidchart and take a screenshot of it and put it into a Google Doc with your other work, that's fine. You'll kind of get what I mean as you start working on it. What you're going to be submitting to me is a Google Doc with all of your work in it, labeled so I can see it all at one time. I can tell that you've done each of your steps. I can see your research questions. I can see your keywords. I can see all the research that you did in one sitting. So what you'll do is you'll have your Google Doc open. You'll watch this video. I will give you instructions about what to do during the video, and you'll complete that on your, sorry, I upload all this to YouTube, so sorry about the weird ads. So I will, you'll complete it in your Google Doc, and then you'll move on to the next step. Part 2 is keywords. So some of you were able to fit more into your class than others in terms of working with keywords. So this is an activity that prompts you in the next step to come up with keywords that are going to help you with those research questions. So if you broke this down into some smaller questions, you're going to need some keywords and be able to pull out some specific keywords that are going to help you search those individual questions as separate searches. Step 3 is to edit and revise your list of keywords. I'm going to make my screen just a little bit bigger here. Sorry, I'm just trying to make this a little bit bigger. It's not really there it goes. I'm trying to make this a little bit bigger. Just so you can kind of see the whole thing here. So this is a step that sometimes gets glossed over, but please look at some of these tips. They can actually be really helpful in terms of getting what you need from your internet search. And the reason why this is so important is because you can Google your topic and Google the same words over and over again, and it's not going to be useful for you. So this activity is really helpful for figuring out some strategies and methods for getting what you need faster during your internet searches. So we're going to be working with this, and then go on to the next thing. Yet again, going to try to get Part 2 is you're going to research and record what you find. So you're going to take what you're doing in part 1 is coming up with 5 new research questions and keywords for those that you have edited and played with and come up with kind of a plan for. You're going to search each of those sets of keywords. You're going to record the question that the smaller research question you were trying to research, the keywords that you used to search it, one useful source that you found during that search. And have an example over here. Maybe my question had to do with, if I were researching things about standardized testing, I would have to know something about the No Child Left Behind policy, so I might search standardized tests, No Child Left Behind. Because in order to answer that bigger question, and this is always my example, how does standardized testing impact learning is a big question, I would have to know something about this. So I might find a couple of helpful sources. A hyperlink for that source so I can see what you came up with, and 2 to 3 sentence overview of what it is that explains, what kind of text it is, what it's about, why you think it's going to be useful. So just something really quick. And this is also your first stab at gathering a set of sources to start kind of working with and get your research. And then the last step is submitting this. Let's see if I can yet again. I don't know why this won't let me get this any bigger. So we're now in student view. So this is where you're going to submit part 1 and 2 of your activity by submitting the Google Doc. I did include that question asked at the very beginning, can you use your Lucidchart? Yes, you can. You're welcome to use your Lucidchart for any part of the activity that you want, as long as you can give me a screenshot of that I can read inside your Google Doc, because it will only let you submit one. So here's what you're also going to be doing. I want you to look at your rubric here. In order to get a complete, this is one that I did give this disclaimer for. A lot of people do start with incompletes on this activity because they skipped a step rushing through. That's one of the reasons I suggest please don't do this in one sitting. Do part 1, make sure you cover everything, then do part 2 later. So you have 2 requirements for part 1, that you completed all 3 of those steps. And that I can easily tell that you did it. So please try to make it reader friendly. Make sure I can see that you have your research questions, your keywords, you did the stuff that I asked you to do in the activity, and that your questions and keywords are diverse. So basically, you didn't try to wing it and just add some vague questions or throw in a couple of keywords. I can tell that you really did the activity and your questions were aimed at trying to really break down different things that you need to know about your research, and you were trying to come up with useful keywords. So it's kind of an effort thing here. And then the rest is part 2, no content farms, the really low quality sites with the obvious red flags. Make sure you have hyperlinks to the sources that you came up with. Make sure you have your overviews and your descriptions. When you give me those 2 to 3 sentences about your sources, just put it in your own words. Just glance over the source, see what you think it's about, what you think it is, why you think it would be useful or helpful. Don't copy and paste something from the source. And make sure you've got about 2 to 3 sentences that tell me, is this is this a news article? Was this a TED Talk? Was this a documentary or a book review? What was it? What was it about? So just a really quick thing. Is this a history of something? Is it reporting about an event that happened or a policy? Something really brief. And it's for me to see, but it is also for you to remember later when you come back to this. You kind of go through and you have a reminder for what that source was about, and then why you think it would be useful. And again, that's also for you just to have a reminder when you come back to it later. What was this thing I looked at, and why would I want to use it? Okay, so here's everything. You're welcome to post a question in Coffee Shop. Send me an email. I'll be talking to you about this again in class tomorrow. Again, please, 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 as I finish up this little announcement here, try not to do this activity all at one time. It really will be more beneficial to you, and you're more likely to get a complete for having everything in the activity that you need if you don't try to do all of the steps at one time. Okay, so please send me questions if you have them. See you tomorrow.